Hello there, today we'll check out 7 dual class options for Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition. These are all suggestions based off of different kits of characters that you can dual class into different classes for some really interesting and cool combinations. As a few reminders, dual classing can only be done by humans as they start the game with one class and then dual class into another class at any level. Though most folks suggest dual classing at level 9 for the best opportunity to get all of the class abilities relatively quickly unless otherwise stated when I give the suggestion in the video. Dual classing is a great opportunity to create a character with a ton of extra enhancements. These different suggestions show off different kits and combinations with new classes to have a fun time. The first suggestion I make, and arguably one of the best classes in Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition, is the Berserker mage. Now imagine making a character who is, with a few activations, immune to physical and most magical or elemental damage, as well as many of the nasty creatures or magical effects. With the click of a sequenced spell set such as like Stone Skin, Blur, Mirror Image, or Protection from Magical Weapons, or Spell Immunity, then combined with Berserk with maybe a few more, 1 or 2 more castings, and you're creating a character that can withstand a terrifying amount of damage. Having this character dual wielding axes, flails, or any other weapon that you've wisely earned grand mastery into, you become a massively powerful tank who can also deal a consistent amount of physical damage. Not to mention the fact that they can also use all of the arcane spells that let them throw things like skull traps, horde wiltings, magic missiles, fireballs, whatever you feel like, and doing all of that while buffed to a T. They can cast spells from the back like Edwin and Nira, or they can run right into melee just with Minsk and the others and be better at doing, well, okay, maybe not everyone, but be better at doing a lot of it than other characters. The Berserker Mage has a plethora of abilities for combat, so the advice that I give when using the Berserker Mage, because I do think that you should be giving it a try if you haven't played the game before, is that with standard fights, typical fights you run into, a couple bandits here and thugs there, is to find a playstyle and stick with it unless you know you need to change up your style when dealing with a particularly dangerous foe. The next suggestion that I have thought of when I was in the kit review was the Wizard Slayer Thief. If you want to have a character that has a lot of utility that can specialize in taking out spellcasters and always have something to look forward to when they're leveling up, besides just a few points of hit points here or a random amount of lore increase there, then this is the combo for you. One thing that has been brought up to me about the Wizard Slayer is their ability to disrupt spellcasters from a distance with either bows or other missile weapons. And I think I overlooked that when I did the kit review, so my apologies when I did that. So from there, my recommendation is to put a ton of points into a missile weapon of your choice. I think crossbows would work well, although you can also do short bows for a huge number of attacks per round. And then switch at either levels 7 or 9 to Thief. Eventually, after several levels and making most of your way through Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition, Baldur's Gate 2, you will be able to take the high level ability Use Any Item, and that eliminates the magic item restriction, though it's going to be a while before you hit that unless you're soloing. A cool benefit is that any shot that you take at those mages that have Stone Skin or Mirrorage up still results in them taking a 25% disruption to their spellcasting, which is cumulative with each hit, even if that hit doesn't do damage. That doesn't even touch the fact that you get a thief in your party that can stick around in combat as needed. it's much more than a vanilla thief can do. So you're already running into much more versatility than a new typical thief would get. So if you're patient, this is a great anti-caster combo that makes for a very powerful character. The third combo that I want to recommend, though I'm not in absolute love with this one, is the Kensai Thief. I can see some cool advantages with this combo. First off, the Kensai, you get nice benefits from increased AC and THAC0, and the lack of armor isn't too bad, as long as you're using this character for hit and run attacks with stealth and backstabs. When you combine Kai with those backstabs, it leads to a nasty amount of damage, but I would recommend getting out of combat and going back into stealth before swinging around and going in for another backstab. And yes, the high level ability, use any item, lets the Kensai thief suit up just like everybody else. But by this point, you're really looking more for damage resistance, for durability, versus just getting more AC. The Kensai Thief does hit like a brick, but you'll need to do a fair amount of macro or micro when you're managing your combat in order to keep your face pretty. The next is a classic. It's not necessarily glamorous, but it is very powerful, and that is you take any kit of fighter with a cleric. Anyone who has played with Animan in Baldur's Gate 2 knows that this combo is like gasoline in a car. It just works. There are a ton of cleric spells that cooperate with the various fighter kits, maybe with the exception of the Wizard Slayer, since they lose those really nice cleric necklaces and rings. We're mostly talking about fighter clerics or berserker clerics or Kensai clerics. They can cast a lot of spells that grant them protection or damage reduction from elemental, magical, or physical sources. They get healing and regeneration spells to keep their faces relatively pretty. Then there are the big buff spells that enhance their strength and armor in combat and make them great frontline fighters. Berserkers and Kensai get their respective strengths as well. Berserkers can go into Berserk and get those really nice buffs to their various defenses, and Kensai, with their increased AC and THAC0 in combat, gives them even more power. You can't really go wrong with building a fighter with high wisdom in order to make that dual class character, just like our favorite Squire Knight in Athkatla. The fifth combo that I've seen a few places in a few run-throughs is the Assassin Mage. First off, for this build, I would recommend breaking my rule in that you should hold off dual classing until you reach level 13 in Assassin to give yourself the best stealth abilities for those really sexy backstab bonuses. Of course, make sure you build your character that has as many points into stealth as possible, since it's going to be essential for your character. And I have seen a crazy dual class combo that has them dual class at level 21. I would only recommend doing that if you're planning on exporting your character, replaying, and then taking out the XP cap. But regardless of however you do it, the Assassin Mage gets the benefit of being a better combat thief with nasty backstabbing abilities, with tanky spells from a mage like Stone Skin, Mirror Image, protection from magical weapons, and so on. The Assassin Mage can use those spells, can cast those spells before going into stealth, and then backstab for a nice amount of damage. They can stick around with maybe even like a poisoned weapon if you really want to use it, and then after doing a bit more damage, they can hang back and go back into stealth, or even cast a spell like invisibility to go around and do it again. This is a very nice single hit damage dealer with available magic to use spells at their fingertips. It makes a very nice combination. The sixth combo, very similar to the Assassin Mage, is the Shadow Dancer Mage. This combo does a lot of what the Assassin Mage does, but trades a little bit of damage for stealth utility. Being able to go into stealth in the enemy's sight is a huge game changer. Getting a bonus to all their saves is really nice, and the unique Shadow Step ability gets the character out of immediate danger. Sure, they aren't hitting as hard with weaker backstabs and a lack of traps, but the character can cast Skull Trap into a mob of baddies and then slip away in the sight of an opponent. Gives them a huge amount of versatility. Finally, the Shadow Dancer gets more points into thieving skills than the Assassin does, so you can have this character potentially do more than one skill, such as detecting traps or detecting illusions, if you give them a try, depending on when you dual class them. I strongly recommend that if you're going to dual class from a thief into a mage, choose one of these two kits, either the Assassin or the Shadow Dancer. You won't be disappointed. The last combo, which I admit is a little bit of a weird combo and may or may not be possible with your version of the game, is the Barbarian Druid. Now, first off, the theme of this is very cool. You take two wild classes that embrace the wild and the wilderness. Is just it's really beautiful. Now you take the Barbarian with their rage ability, their increased move speed, immunity to backstabs, and then you toss in spells like Armor of Faith, Iron Skins, Insect Plague, Call Lightning, and Regeneration. And then you toss in Elemental Shapeshifting along with the other HLAs that a druid would get, and you're looking at a terrifying, untouchable monster in combat. The one thing I will say about this is it is a very, very difficult character to make. A character, first off, has to be true neutral, and they have to have at least 15 strength, which you should have on your Barbarian, and a 17 wisdom, and a 17 charisma, alongside of all of the other big stats you want to have your Barbarian have. It can be a very difficult character to make, but if you can somehow make it, if you magically roll a massive number and you're okay with sacrificing a few points or maybe even dumping intelligence, then this is a fantastic combo that if you can make it, give it a try. See if you'll enjoy it. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the starter guide. I know that there were a lot of options that you all are going to disagree with, such as me not talking about Kensai mages or swashbucklers at all, but I wanted to provide options that either were unquestionably powerful or were weird enough to be tried out once, maybe on lower difficulties. If you like what I do, feel free to check out my other content and give the video a like and subscribe. That'll be it for today. Take care and good luck. We're all counting on you.